Okay, let's unpack this. We are diving deep today into, well, the architecture of personal transformation, really. If you've ever felt, overwhelmed by wanting to make emotional changes, maybe be less anxious or stop withdrawing, but just had no idea where to even start, this deep dive is kind of your blueprint.
Yeah.
We've got this roadmap from a therapeutic workbook. It lays out a really disciplined, step-by-step process for setting goals and, maybe more importantly, keeping that motivation going when things get tough.
And that structure, that process, it's absolutely foundational. The sources use this great analogy, thinking about self-change, though, like building a house.
Right?
And setting goals, maintaining motivation. That's not the fancy stuff, not the paint or the roof. It's the concrete bedrock. If that foundation isn't stable, well, the rest of the house, all the other skills you try to build, they just won't hold up when life throws stress at you.
That really reframes the whole thing, doesn't it? It's not just about learning coping skills. It's about building that necessary structure first. So our mission today is to distill this roadmap for you. We're walking through the architectural planning, you could say, 4 key steps. Clarifying the problem, setting concrete goals, understanding how motivation actually works because it fluctuates, and then using something called the decisional balance exercise to tackle that internal resistance.
And that structural work, it has to start with some objective self-awareness. Before you plan the house, you got to survey the land, right?
Makes sense.
You need to stop just relying on vague feelings and actually start tracking your emotional experiences. Maybe through like a structured self-assessment or even just a basic mood log. Keeping records is what builds that objectivity you need to see if you're actually making progress later on.
Okay, so here's where the planning gets really precise. Because the first step isn't just deciding, I want to be happier. It's too
Way
hard.
too vague.
The first, and maybe the most defining step, is getting crystal clear on the specific problems your emotions are actually causing in your life, the functional problems.
That is such a powerful distinction. Clarifying the problem means really pinpointing the ways your emotions, maybe it's guilt, maybe it's that paralyzing anxiety, or just feeling sad all the time, how they're actively interfering with the life you genuinely want.
So asking specific questions.
Yeah, behavioral questions like, is my anxiety making me turn down invitations? Am I stopping things I used to enjoy? Is stress leading me to, I don't know, drink too much? Or maybe just shut down completely in meetings or social situations?
So the target isn't cure the sadness. It's more like stop the specific interferences the sadness is causing.
Exactly right. And this workbook approach, it recommends looking at all those interferences and literally circling the 2 top problems that you want to tackle right now.
Just 2.
Just 2 to start.
Yeah.
Then you transfer those onto what they call the treatment goals form. Think of that form as your architectural contract with yourself.
Okay.
It's where you take that fuzzy desire for change and turn it into a specific behavioral plan with a timeline.
But hang on, is there a risk there? By focusing on just 2 problems, maybe 4 steps for each, could we miss some deeper underlying issue that's driving everything? Is it sometimes too narrow?
That's a really fair question, but the whole structure is actually designed to prevent getting discouraged. Think about it. If you try to fix 10 things at once, you just feel completely overwhelmed by this general distress, and what happens? You quit.
Yeah, so similar.
So the super focused approach, it helps you get maybe 1 or 2 quick wins, build some momentum. That early step of focusing your efforts, that's what lets you take one specific step towards feeling more in control instead of just drowning in, a sea of distress.
I can see the logic in that folks. Okay, so once we know the specific problem, or point A, we need that concrete destination, point B. And we've all done the New Year's resolution thing, right? The one that's dead by February. How do we set a goal that actually, survives contact with reality?
That's where the specificity principle comes in hard. The roadmap insists goals must be specific, concrete, and manageable. If your goal is just, I want to feel better, how on earth do you measure that?
You can't, right? You just sort of hope one day you wake up and poof, it's happened.
Precisely. Now, contrast that with a really specific behavioral goal. Let's say you deal with social anxiety. Instead of, I want to be less anxious, your goal might be, I will start a 5-minute chat with someone new twice this week.
Okay, that's measurable.
Or if avoidance is your thing, maybe the goal is, I will be able to take the bus downtown, ride the elevator to the 10th floor, and drive over the main bridge. Those are actions you can actually check off.
That totally shifts the focus. It's not about your internal state changing magically. It's about your external behavior changing deliberately.
Yes.
But let's talk scale again. If those are the big point B goals, taking the elevator, driving over the bridge, how do we make that journey feel less terrifying, less overwhelming?
Right, because just looking at point A, where you are now, and point B, that big goal, can feel impossible. Totally. So the structure advises against trying to make that whole leap in your mind. Instead, you break that big goal down into much smaller behavioral steps. The form actually suggests aiming for about 4 steps per goal.
Like drawing the map one little section at a time.
Exactly. So maybe your overall goal is reducing depressive withdrawal, and the big point B is attend a friend's party. That feels huge right now.
Yeah.
But step 1 might just be look up the phone numbers for 2 friends. Step 2 could be draft a short text message to one of them. Notice you don't even have to send it yet for step 2.
Oh, okay. So you're practicing the intention, the movement towards it before the main event. And the source mentioned it's okay if even step 1 feels impossible right now.
Absolutely okay. It's totally acceptable, even expected, that you might need to add more steps later, make them even smaller. Or maybe brainstorm with a friend or a therapist to figure out what those tiny first steps could be. You're learning new skills here. The point is just forward movement, any forward movement, not immediate perfection. So don't get discouraged if you can't map out all 4 steps right away.
Okay, good to know. So we've got the map, the specific destination, the smaller steps laid out, the car's built. Now the engine,
Yeah.
motivation.
The driving force.
Does it just turn on when you decide to change and then stay steady all the way to the finish line? Because that's not my experience.
Yeah, and what's really useful here is how the workbook tackles that exact expectation head on. It makes it super clear. Motivation is not fixed. It's not a constant.
Okay.
It changes, sometimes dramatically, day to day, even hour to hour. Some days you'll feel really revved up, ready to go. Other days, it'll feel like pulling teeth just to do the smallest thing.
I think everyone listening can relate to that dip, that feeling of, ugh, I just can't today. What makes the engine sputter like that, especially when you're halfway there?
Well, often it's external stuff, right? You get slammed at work, you're not feeling well, you're just plain tired. That stuff definitely drains your energy for working on therapeutic goals.
Sure.
But there are internal barriers too, like maybe feeling the effort isn't paying off fast enough, or sometimes it's just feeling embarrassed about needing help or even doing the exercises.
So if low motivation is a really consistent problem, and the source notes this is especially common with depression, what's the strategy?
Yeah.
Because we know just waiting for motivation to show up, that doesn't work.
You absolutely don't wait. That's the critical insight here. You have to sort of decouple the action from the feeling.
Okay, how?
The sources suggest 2 main things. First, go back and reread the reasons you wanted to change in the first place, those benefits you listed. Remind yourself why it matters.
Right, reconnect with the why.
And second, you use proactive scheduling. Sometimes people call it if-then planning. You don't rely on willpower in the moment. You decide ahead of time. If it's Tuesday at 7 p.m., then I will spend 20 minutes working on my goal activity in my study.
Make a deal with yourself.
Exactly, you make a deal. And the interesting thing is, often, once you just start the action, even if you're dragging your feet, a little bit of motivation kicks in and makes it easier to keep going. Action can generate motivation, not just the other way around.
That's a really powerful behavioral hack. Okay, this brings up something important, though. We're talking about emotional change. That often involves some deep internal conflict, doesn't it?
For sure.
Like, part of you logically sees the need for change, wants it, but there's another part, maybe a louder part, that's hesitant or just actively resists the effort involved. How do you handle that internal tug of war?
That's precisely where this decisional balance exercise comes in. And honestly, this tool is crucial for preventing that midstream derailment we talked about.
Okay.
It forces you in a structured way to explore the pros and cons of both changing and staying the same.
Both. Okay, hang on.
Yeah, it's not just a simple pros and cons list for changing. It's an act of psychological foresight. You identify the potential roadblock, the reasons for staying stuck before they trip you up.
I get listing the pros of changing, living fully, less suffering, and the cons of staying the same misery, limitations. But why make yourself list the benefits of staying stuck? That feels counterproductive.
Because that hesitation, that pull towards staying the same, it's real. And if you don't acknowledge why it's there, what purpose it serves, it'll just undermine you silently from the background.
Okay. Bring it into the light.
Exactly. So the decisional balance form, it's usually set up in 4 boxes, 4 quadrants. You've got the obvious ones. Benefits of change, costs of staying the same. Those are usually pretty easy to fill out.
Right.
But it's those middle 2 quadrants that really reveal the conflict, the costs of change and the benefits of staying the same.
Let's focus on that one. The pros or benefits of staying the same. That sounds like the real psychological trap.
It absolutely is. What do people write there? Well, staying the same often means avoiding uncomfortable feelings, right?
Yeah, anxiety, fear, sadness.
Exactly. It also means you don't have to spend energy filling out forms or pushing yourself to do difficult things. It's the immediate comfort of avoidance. Or just less effort.
The path of least resistance.
Right. And understanding that comfort, recognizing that you actually get a short-term benefit from your suffering because it lets you avoid effort or discomfort, that's key to unlocking change. If you don't realize you get something out of inaction, you won't know what you're truly fighting against when motivation dips.
Wow. So by naming it, by acknowledging, okay, I stay this way partly because it's easier right now, you can anticipate when your brain will try that excuse later.
Precisely.
And I remember the sources mentioning that even things that seem positive or maybe necessary traits can actually be a cost that keeps us stuck.
Yes, that often shows up in the costs of change quadrant. For someone dealing with anxiety, maybe their anxiety makes them super conscientious, like a perfectionist.
Oh, yeah.
So a cost of changing for them might be listed as, I won't be as thorough at my job, or I'll have to give up triple checking my emails. The decisional balance helps you see how those seemingly small compulsions, or even that feeling of being in control because you're checking constantly, are actually part of the cost of the problem. They contribute to the distress, and you have to be willing to let them go for real change.
That's a truly objective, almost detached look at yourself. And crucially, the source stresses it's completely normal to doubt yourself, to feel like you're failing when motivation drops. We shouldn't let those periods completely derail the whole process.
Definitely don't let them derail you. If you're even leaning towards changing, filling out these forms, thinking about it, you're already in a great spot. Just remember, expect motivation to go up and down. It's natural. It's part of the process. It does not mean the whole thing isn't working.
Okay, so we've mapped it out. Moving from those vague feelings of distress to concrete, manageable behavioral goals. And we have these structural tools, the treatment goals form to set the timeline, the decisional balance form to anticipate that internal conflict. It really is like an architectural plan for self-improvement.
And remember, by doing the structural work, planning it out, you're actually cultivating those stepping stones forward. When motivation does dip, revisiting your why, those benefits of change you listed that can help reignite the engine, you're practicing the very skills needed to improve your life, even when you're just planning or reviewing.
I think that's a great place to wrap up, but maybe leave you with one final thought. It's taken straight from the source material, and it just normalizes this whole struggle so well. The workbook includes this statement. Feeling both that you want to change and that you might not be ready to change is a natural part of the process of any behavior change.
That ambivalence is normal.
So the question for you listening is, what action, no matter how tiny it seems, can you identify right now that fits into the bigger picture of your goals? Even if you still have those doubts, that feeling of maybe not being ready. Just one small thing.